I'm an international celebrity. After 2021, the name Kian Carlisle is better known in the Transformers fandom than the name Optimus Prime. I interviewed some big boy famous boys like Marty Eisenberg and Randolph Hurd. They put my name in a Transformers Cyberverse episode, arguably making me the main protagonist of the entire series. And Chris McFeely hearted one of my YouTube comments. I'm at the top of the world, but it was not always this way. This is the story of how I became a Transformers fan. Something no one asked for, and no one will watch. To the best of my knowledge, I became aware of Transformers as a thing that exists in the summer of 2009, when Nickelodeon kept hyping up Revenge of the Fallen.
Nickelodeon has obtained secret information about the new action movie, Transformers Revenge of the...
At the time, I was about to head into 2nd grade. I was 7. I can't remember if the movie was airing on the channel, like edited down, or if Nickelodeon was just showing ads for the movie in the theaters. And according to my Twitter poll, no one else remembers either. I remember they would keep playing an ad like where the scientist guy's like, oh, whatever you do, don't tell my mother.
Do not tell my mother.
There was a lot of clips of Wheelie.
What are you looking at, slob of puss?
And they had the Burger King ads. Welcome to Burger King, can I take
a Whopper. No cheese, no onions, extra pickles.
They were really trying to pretend like this movie was appropriate for children, when in fact, it was not. But nonetheless, that made me interested. So then, September comes, and my birthday happens. I become 8. My mom took me to Toys R Us to spend my birthday money, and I was allowed to choose 2 figures. I didn't know who any of the characters were, I didn't know who any of the Transformers were. I simply chose what I thought to be the 2 coolest cars/robots. And I still have my first 2 Transformers to this day. I got Bumblebee with the little thingies that pop out of his shoulders, and then I got Barricade. I don't know the specific names of these figures because I'm not a nerd, but they really haven't held together well. Barricade originally came with like this cool gray thing in his chest, but I traded that with my friend so that I could have a Frenzy, but it was blue. So I have a blue Frenzy. I don't have the original thing anymore. I gave it to my friend and his dog chewed it immediately, so it's gone, reduced to ashes. I had no clue Bumblebee was a protagonist. I had no clue Barricade was supposedly his rival. I just grabbed 2 cool looking cars, and I still have them to this day. Shortly after came Christmas of 2009. I got one more Transformer at Target. It was Rampage, the yellow bulldozer. The one where the shovel just completely fell off, no matter what you did. I don't know where it is, and so for a long time, those were the only 3 Transformers toys I had. I didn't really know who anything was or what anything was. They were just kind of some toys I had in my amassed collection of toys, but I was mainly into Legos. At some point later, maybe the end of 2nd grade, like into 3rd grade, for sure within 3rd grade, I became more interested in what is this Transformers thing, or whatever they are. What are they? I began using the internet to look up what these Transformers were. I began watching the Pia toy review videos. He was the first YouTuber I ever discovered.
He rolls.
I had no concept of photorealism, so I remember there's this old ancient Devastator animation that I thought was real footage from Revenge of the Fallen. I still like to think it is. I would just look at the Transformers.com or on the Hasbro website and scroll through all the toys they had. I got Wheelie for Christmas. I remember looking at a 2-pack with TFA Sunstorm and TFA tiny activator Ratchet. And I didn't realize that Ratchet was an activator. I thought it would just be normal sized, and so I thought Sunstorm would be massive. I didn't ultimately end up getting that 2-pack, I just got a standard deluxe Ratchet. I got my first TFA figure, which was Deluxe Ratchet. But again, I didn't know what TFA was. I didn't know anything about it. It's also not this one. This is not the one I had back then. That becomes a key plot point as the story progresses. I knew about the Transformers movies. It's hard to avoid them. I don't remember when I became aware of Transformers cartoons, but I do remember a specific conversation I had with my Uncle Joe, where he told me that he sees Transformers cartoons on TV sometimes, and he might like them. I also have this vague, faint memory of channel surfing at my grandpa's house and seeing Thrill of the Hunt just for like a second. I don't even know if it happened. It's so like repressed. So evidently at some point I began looking into Transformers shows, and that's when I discovered Transformers Generation 1. G1 was the very first Transformers show I watched. I watched them all on like weird show watching websites that probably weren't safe. Every like website list I went to seemed to have like completely different episode orders. So I was never able to tell which episodes were supposed to be watched first, even though I guess it didn't really matter. I also like struggled with the perception of time. For some reason I couldn't count backward to 1980 from 2010. So I was like insisting to my dad that Transformers is like older than him because I don't know why, I just couldn't count for some reason. I don't remember how long I spent watching G1. I mean, I don't know if it was like a month or a year, but I know I did watch through the whole show. I watched through season 1, then I watched through season 2, and I remember some episodes I just like didn't like, and I just found them weird, and so I would just like skip them. And then I watched the movie, and they killed Wheeljack off screen, and I remember like I had to pause the movie and cry because they killed Wheeljack. That was really rude of them. And then I started watching season 3, and like everyone I cared about was gone, and then I didn't care anymore, and I never finished season 3 to this day. I haven't really watched G1 since 3rd grade, watching Transformers for the first time. Those episodes I skipped, I've probably never seen them. Triple Takeover is by far my favorite G1 episode, or was at the time, so I've rewatched that one probably like 5 times. I really haven't rewatched anything else since then. So anyway, we've now reached March of 3rd grade, 2011. My parents brought me along on a mission trip in Mexico. I learned all about construction, and my parents learned that bringing a 9-year-old on a mission trip is a bad idea. But I brought my Transformers. I remember playing with them in the car. We were staying at an orphanage, the El Faro Orphanage, or if I were to say it with a fancy Spanish accent, I would say El Faro Orfanatorio. We spent the week kind of camped there, in tents. Then there is some kid from the orphanage who was about my age, started like hanging out with me while I was there. And then I didn't know a word he was saying, he didn't know a word I was saying, but we were like kids, and so we played. Then at one point he like brought me inside the main orphanage building, which we weren't allowed to go in. And my parents were like, Ian, you can't go in the orphanage. I was like, I was 9, and an orphan from Mexico invited me into an orphanage. I was very curious. You can't get mad at me for this. And I decided to give him a Transformer. So I picked the Transformer that I cared least about, by far. And that was Deluxe TFA Ratchet. And so I gave him the figure, having never seen TFA and having never known the significance of it. Ratchet came with 4 little tool thingies. I was only able to find 3 of them. I'd left these in the car and then couldn't find them when I was trying to give Ratchet to the kid. So I wound up stuck with these, and for the next, 10 years, I would just, every year I would be like, oh, there are those tools, and then I'd lose them again. So they were just perpetually being found and re-lost in a cycle for almost a decade, until I bought the figure again in high school, and that one was missing its tools. So luckily I still had these originals. In the hotel on the way back from that trip, my dad was like, little Kian, you did good work. I'm gonna let you watch that Transformers movie. Don't tell your mom.
Do not tell my mother.
And I was like, wow, I'm gonna watch a real movie. And then the first scene was blackout at the airport base. And it was really, really scary. And I got scared, and I told my dad to turn the movie off. And then he did. Then we watched Madagascar instead, and that was a lot better. Anyway, shortly after getting back from Mexico, I literally seem to remember it being like a week or something. I don't know if I made that number up at some point, but I started watching Transformers Animated on YouTube. The whole show was on YouTube like 3 times over because copyright wasn't enforced back then. My god, I loved it. I loved it right off the bat. It just clicked with me in a way that G1 apparently never quite did. I don't remember how long it took me to watch it. Back then, at the time, I remember saying ooh, I watched the whole show in 3 days. But also, I have this memory of watching episode 7, Thrill of the Hunt, on the night of my second day watching it. And so I don't think I watched the rest of the episodes on that 3rd day. I don't know if it took me a week or whatever. I really don't remember. April of 3rd grade, April of 2011, is when I watched Transformers Animated. 1 month shy of 2 years after the show had already ended. I remember Sari's upgrade scene appeared on a thumbnail on the side. And I was like, what? Sorry? Upgrade, transfer? Oh, man, I don't want to. I guess I'll wait till I get to that episode. I got to a bridge part close. And after part 2, after seeing Sari's robotic elbow, I was like, oh, man, I can't wait. And I remember looking at the episode list and seeing an episode later in the season called Human Error. And I was like, obviously it's going to be, like, way deep in season 3. I don't want to wait that long. So I'll watch the scene right now, and then I'll watch Transwarp, which will probably be a casual episode. So I wound up spoiling the upgrade scene for myself 30 minutes before I would have watched it anyway. I remember that. I predicted Long Arm would be the double agent when I watched Auto Boot Camp for the first time, because I was an intellectual among men. I was smarter than anyone else. I remember seeing, like, this scene from the Unicron trilogy or something that was like, Constructicons, combine, and I watched that clip, and I thought that was gonna be, like, in Transformers Animated, despite the fact that it was, like, CG or something. When I got to the end of season 3, I was like, where was that scene? After watching Endgame Part 2, it did not dawn on me whatsoever that the show was over. It seemed like such a non-ending. I just assumed that season 4 was on the way. So I'd go online and I'd see like those classic DeviantArt designs by Dick Grinwis, and like I thought those were gonna be real. I'd see like the fanfiction.net list of episodes where it's like, ooh, Downtown Blackout, and like I thought those were gonna be real. I thought the season was gonna come out any time now, and then eventually at some point I realized it was over, and I was just shocked because at that point in my life I'd never really watched shows with continuity. Every show I watched with continuity had been able to, wrap up and resolve its endings and resolve its storylines. The shows that I watched that had ended, like, Zack and Cody, Hannah Montana on Disney Channel, they didn't have any continuity. So when the shows wrapped up, there were no loose ends. So this was my very first experience seeing a show with storylines not get a resolution to those storylines. And it's haunted me for the majority of my life, as you can see now. So then 3rd grade to me is just the TFA year, even though I guess it was only like the last 3 months of that school year. I remember trying to draw Bumblebee in class. I was trying to draw his transformation, how it worked. I learned later I was definitely wrong with how I was drawing it, but my teacher saw the drawing, and she just took it in front of me, in front of the whole class, wrinkled it, and threw it away. And that's why I'm bad at art to this day. If she had let me finish drawing that drawing, I would be like Kabuki Aku level, but I'm not, because of her, Miss Gibson. I don't remember when in the timeline this would be, but at one point I was rewatching the show with my Uncle Mike, different uncle from earlier, and he did not want to be here. We were just watching season 2, and I was like, do you want to watch the episode with the orange garbage truck or the blue race car? And he, trying to get out of it, just not caring at all, was like, let's watch the purple cement mixer, or else I'm getting up. And that poor man, there was a purple cement mixer episode, and I was able to pull that up, and then he was just like, oh my god, then he didn't care, and he walked away anyway. I was very sad at the time that Mike didn't want to watch Transformers with me, but now I can recognize how funny that is, that the random color and vehicle that he threw out was actually a Transformer. And then also, here are just some of the toys that I remember having at that time. I don't know if this is all of it, but I don't think there were many more than this. TFA Jazz, Sidearm Sideswipe, Dark of the Moon, Starscream Mech Tech Thing, Revenge of the Fallen, Ejector, TFA Blitzwing, my first eBay Transformer, Unicron Trilogy Boat and Jet Small Scout, Burger King Optimus, Revenge of the Fallen Leader Optimus, Fist Punch Long Haul, Armada Orange Tow Truck, Gray Train, RID. I no longer have any of those. I traded Sidearm Sideswipe with my friend to get his Movie 1 Jazz, which was a deal I lost on. Later I gave that to my nephew, and then my sister's dog chewed it immediately, except for the head. I still have the head of Movie 1 Jazz. The rest was destroyed. A lot of them broke, I got rid of them, and then I just gave the rest to my mom to like bring to basically the thrift store where you could bring old stuff you don't need anymore. I remember I still have Ejector, and that specific Blitzwing. I lost his wing at my friend Emily's swim meet in 4th grade, and then when I got to high school, I got a new Blitzwing, and I gave this one to my nephew, and then he lost the arm immediately, and I was like, never mind, I'm taking this back. This one's too important. Then I got the Ejector toaster, but both of its legs have broken off. Transformers started to become a thing that I enjoyed, specifically Transformers Animated, and Pia's Transformers Animated toy reviews. I talk more about Pia in my 2021 Transformers YouTuber tier list. He's the best YouTuber. I remember seeing the occasional Transformer YTP, and every time there was footage from Beast Wars, I would just be like really confused. I found it ugly and terrible. My friend at one point had a big Optimus from something in the Unicron trilogy. I don't actually remember off the top of my head. We used the internet to figure out which Optimus Prime it was. We figured out that it was from one of the 3 Unicron trilogy shows. We watched episode 1 and we just found it so weird and terrible, and we turned it off. And watching that one episode of one of the shows of the Unicron trilogy is the only time I have ever watched the Unicron trilogy. At one point, Dark of the Moon came out on DVD, and then I remember like being way too scared and just not wanting to watch it. My friend like made me. He was like, watch the movie, be a man, stop being scared. And I watched Dark of the Moon, and I was still scared, but I did get through that one. Eventually, I watched 1 and 2. I hated them at the time, but I still begrudgingly have nostalgia for them. So what's funny is that my tastes when it comes to Transformers have not changed whatsoever from when I first discovered them to now. At one point in, I believe, 4th grade, Transformers Prime came out with McDonald's toys. And I saw some kid had one from across the cafeteria, and I mistook it for like a TFA Blitzwing or something. I think it was a Megatron. So based on that McDonald's toy, I was under the impression that Transformers Animated was back. This was the same day that we had a harmonica assembly, and some dude handed out harmonicas to all the elementary schoolers. And I was so happy that whole day. I was like blowing on my little like harmonica or whatever, and I got home and I looked it up, and it was some different weird new thing called Transformers Prime. I was irate. I absolutely hated this new Transformers Prime thing, and I blamed it for the cancellation of Transformers Animated. And as I got older, I realized that wasn't quite the case, and then as I got older again, I have now realized that is literally exactly what happened. It was Transformers Prime's fault. February, 4th grade, 2012, my dad gets Transformers Prime Valentine's Day cards for me to give out to my class, and I was like, I refuse to have anything to do with Transformers Prime. Return these Valentine's Day cards. This show is an outrage. I don't remember if he did. He better have. 5th grade. I was like, what if I wrote a Transformers Animated Season 4 by myself on my computer? Panda, no, get off my laptop. Ugh, this is a cat. My cat's on my lap. And so I did. And then a lot of the ideas that I came up with in 5th grade eventually wound up making their way into the stuff I would produce on this channel. In middle school, you know what? It wasn't as relevant to me anymore. I remember 6th grade, I started doing what I will destroy my cat's entire family. In 6th grade, I started doing what I called TFA Sundays, where I was like, every Sunday, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna rewatch an episode of TFA to keep the show alive in my mind. And what actually happened is I watched Transwarped 3 weeks in a row, and then I never did a TFA Sunday again. At the end of 6th grade, I watched Transformers Age of Age. It's the only Bayverse movie I watched in the theater. So I hated Bayverse at the time, but all the nerdy YouTube videos, like the Screen Rant style ones, were like, ooh, maybe Michael Bay's gonna go in a different direction and make a less dumb Transformers movie than before. And I just bought that up. I was like, yes, Michael Bay's gonna take it seriously. And then I watched Age of Extinction, and then it was the scene on the wires trying to get back to Lockdown Ship where I realized in the theater at the age of 12, this is the exact same as the other ones. At some point in 6th grade, my friend and I, we did watch Transformers Prime on Netflix. We thought it was awesome, and we loved it. Transformers, they turn into cars, you know. My friend and I went half and half on a Beast Hunter Optimus Prime, but it wound up just being horrible. It sucked. So after like a month of just letting it sit around, we decided to actually bury it in his backyard. And then a couple years later, we tried looking for it. We couldn't find it. And We no longer have the video of it, but somewhere beneath the earth is a Beast Hunter's Optimus Prime with a dumb wheel on his back. It looked stupid. Somewhere in this era of time, I discovered Paper Plane and Comic Cam. And they're the first ones you cemented in my head, like, oh, you can be like an actual, like, Transformer YouTuber. Because, like, I hadn't really thought of that before. I never really thought of Pia as a Transformer YouTuber. He was a toy guy. But they made me realize, like, oh, there are YouTube channels dedicated to in 9th grade, I rewatched Transformers Prime, and I have not watched a single episode of the show since then. Then came 10th grade. The beginning of 10th grade is when I thought, wow, what if I were to continue Transformers animated, but instead of just talking about it, I make it. And that's when I started the Transformers animated storyboards. I'd never used a microphone before. I didn't even know what a storyboard was. I'd never drawn before. Really, it's never looked good, still hasn't. I'd edited a singular video before in iMovie called Survivor Oregon, where my family pretended we were on Survivor.
The tribe has spoken.
Well, apparently the tribe has not spoken. That didn't work.
So I was not exactly skilled or qualified to make one as a sophomore in high school, but I did nonetheless produce 16 episodes of content, of like all of which were over 21 minutes. They're very cringe, and then from there, most of my history with Transformers is well documented on YouTube through this very YouTube channel. I am the undisputed kingpin of the entire Transformers online space. And hopefully, this is only the beginning. Well, thank you for watching that YouTube video on YouTube. I went pretty much radio silent after the passing of Derek Wyatt, just because he was such a significant part of the culture of this channel. He came up in like every other video, and I just haven't really had it in me to like do my normal talking about TFA obsessively kind of content like I normally do here. Like, normally, I'd be like, oh, we're gonna find out Bumblebee's social security number via 17 Comic-Con panels, and we're gonna ask Derek 9 questions on Twitter! But I'm just too sad to do anything about that, so I don't know how long it'll be until we have, like, more typical Transformers animated videos. This is gonna double as, like, my January update video that no one really cares about. Still just working on the same things. I crashed and burned in a spectacular fashion. Very embarrassing. I'll live with it. Still working on Truck Not Monkey. It's gonna come out. Combaticons is going smoothly. Expect we're looking for a voice cast video pretty soon. I'm not going to reveal anything else that I'm working on, so that if it doesn't come out, no one will know. Also, this is my second channel now, because over the course of one singular month, 3 videos caused my other channel to become more successful than this channel ever has. So, you'll probably see less of me here. I'll be doing a lot of stuff over there as well, not about Transformers. You're welcome to watch. I'm gonna go collapse the government. See you later.